what we've got here is a failure to communicate. Welcome back to another episode of Epsilon Reporting on Air. It's me and other guy here. Hey. We're going to be talking about the notion or the concept of the one, basically just finding the perfect person for you. Do you want me to go into my beliefs, or you want to elaborate on yours?
Well, I imagine we probably have arrived at the same conclusion about this. So I'll just start. But no, I don't believe that there is one person picked out for everyone. Because if there was, I don't think that anybody would find that person. I mean, what are the odds that, the one is in the same hometown as you, or went to the same college as you, or any of this stuff? The odds are really low, actually, that you would find this one person. Now, that's assuming like a random distribution, unless, you think that there's some higher power that driving two people together. But that's that's quite a bigger leap than just soulmates.
Yeah, and we've in that case want to get into soulmates too. But I remember you talking. We were talking about this a few days ago, and you said something about that I really liked, which is that if you believe in the one and some kind of like thing drawing two random individuals together, then that would lead to a belief in a god or some kind of like higher entity, which has
that's what I'm
like
saying.
Further implications.
Yeah.
So, actually, do you know like one of the earliest myths that like about the one?
Yeah, it's Plato's thing of like everybody has two heads and like four arms and four legs and all that. And then they got. Why did they get split again?
Well, so yeah, exactly. That's cool that you know about that. It's weird. They had three different genders. They had like male and women, and basically it was, imagine like two humans placed back to back and like just fused together. So like a more practical human centipede without the centipede part. And so it was like male and female, male, female.
Mm-hmm.
And they like, I don't know why I got so in depth on this, but like they could move really fast, which is just horrifying to even imagine that. But I guess they tried to like climb Mount Olympus and challenge the gods. And so with that, I don't remember which god it was, but he severed them all in half. And so we're always searching for our other half, so male, like homosexual, lesbian, and heterosexual.
That's cool that was not like a suppressed part of their culture like it is now. Yeah.
And so on my side, I also agree that there is no notion of the one. And I also don't believe in any kind of soulmates too. You kind of alluded to that earlier. What's your take on soulmates?
What is the difference there? Is the idea of the one is just like you have one soulmate, but soulmates are just like you have a lot of the ones?
Oh, I thought you had a different view of soulmates.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I think we're in agreement.
Okay.
Now, so why do you think this is such a prevalent belief?
That is a great question. Just spitballing. But I've thought about this a little bit. I think it's related to the sunk cost fallacy, right? Everybody seems to, I shouldn't say everybody, but it's generally like acceptable to hate your exes, right? And instead of like learning from those experiences and like, letting a relationship run its course and sort of leave it when it has, we have this idea of like sunk cost. Of like, I already put so much effort into this person, and like, oh, what, it was for nothing, I'm alone again, right? So I think people are looking for the one because they don't want, because if it ends, then it's not the one, and if it ends, it's a negative thing. It's wasted emotional energy and time. I think that's why it's probably so prevalent.
I think that is a good answer. I was also thinking that it might have something to do with how a lot of people have like an immense amount of pride. And I think that's one of like just the issues with like a decent amount of people like taking things too personally, getting too upset by different situations, any number of like negatives. I think a lot of it stems from too much pride. And so to say that you're not the one and that's why this is not working both saves you from a critical evaluation of your partner, saying like you either have a lot to work on or even more rarely a critical examination of ourselves, saying, nice. Oh shit, I still have a lot to work on. So I think that is kind of almost like a weird scapegoat of it.
That's a great point, yeah.
Yeah. I was also, when I heard you on to talk about this subject matter, I did a little bit of research. Just kind of like on the origins of love, the development of love, and it kind of led even into marriage. And so kind of course, like other than the animal approach of like our early ancestors where it's like take whatever you can get when you can get it, blah, blah, blah. Marriage was a lot of times to strengthen like family ties. It was very strategic and tactical. And so when you got married, there was almost to an extent, it was considered weird if you showed too much affinity for another individual. You're right. Like, I like long for that person. And it's like, that's weird. To bring it back to the modern day, how do you think people should approach the notion of the one or their partner?
How should they approach their partner?
Like, how should they think about it? How should they try to fulfill love or like a healthy relationship?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Real fast mini story. I doubt I'll even keep this in unless it's pretty good. I'll definitely edit that part out. But I remember being super frustrated with my mom one time when I was like really young, before I like could fully articulate different ideas and kind of like work around different ideas. And so I remember trying to tell her a story, and I was like, hey, you know how this happens when you turn the light on, blah, 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 like maybe a snap or something. And she's like, no, how? I'm like, no, I mean like, you know how like it snaps when you turn the light on? And she's like, how does that happen? And I'm like, God damn it, woman. Okay, so it happens, right?
Yeah, you say things kind of funnier. You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. So there's that's a good question, because you want to date somebody that you know you're going to be compatible with, but at the same time, you also can't expect to date somebody who the relationship is going to be perfect with. And I don't know if I have any great advice on that, other than like, keep in mind what your attitude is in a relationship, and like admit when you're wrong and try to be as healthy as possible. And if the relationship doesn't work out from there, then it's probably just not the relationship for you.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just to cover some other things that very important to keep in mind is that your partner should be like your co-pilot. They should complete you. It shouldn't be like two half-complete individuals coming together to then like make one complete individual. So the whole like, this is my second half, it's kind of counterproductive. You should, because I think if you're lacking as an individual, if like your core tenets aren't solidified, you don't know what you stand for, then when you get with this person, or you have like huge gaps in your self-esteem, when you get with this person, it's almost a burden, because you're like, all right, person, you are in charge of my happiness. Here are the keys to my happiness. And so, yeah, I think we got to be definitely mindful of that. And then also, I think like the point, kind of the initial ideas that led to this podcast idea to begin with, is that to an extent, romanticism is very negative, self-defeating, and detrimental. So a lot of times there's that narrative of the like couples never fight, or the honeymoon period is it just lasts forever. But then in real life, when the honeymoon period wears off, then instead of people thinking like, oh, okay, I just like, we're getting to know each other to the point where we can like almost like better accurately judge what the other person's going to do, which is like objectively, if you can more accurately project anything, it becomes less exciting.
Yeah.
And instead of like understanding that, they think like something's wrong. All of a sudden, what's wrong? Something's wrong. And that, who knows, maybe that excess anxiety stems from being like one of the latest generations from a few generations that have had incredibly high divorce rates. So we've seen like all of these broken romances.
Right.
As it stands, thanks for listening. This is Epsilon reporting. Good night.
And me. Bye.
And good luck.